someone says Maryland, most people immediately imagine wealthy towns near Washington, D.C., old harbors, or quiet East Coast suburbs. But the farther you go into its countryside, mountains, and small islands, the stranger Maryland starts to feel. Truly strange. In this small state, there is a town whose name is forever tied to forest witches and missing people. There is a remote island where locals still speak with an accent that sounds like English from hundreds of years ago. There are also small towns repeatedly hit by mysterious floods, abandoned psychiatric hospitals filled with paranormal rumors, and old communities that feel like they never really left the 1800s. First, Burkittsville may look like an ordinary small town in the Maryland mountains, with a population of not even 200 people. But the town's name changed forever in the late 1990s when the Blair Witch Project exploded and made Burkittsville known as one of the creepiest small towns in America. What makes it even stranger is that the town's atmosphere itself really does feel quiet and remote. Near this town is also the Battle of South Mountain, one of the bloody battles of the Civil War era. Interestingly, many locals actually dislike that fame because their town keeps being associated with curses, missing people, and early 2000s internet horror stories. Even today, Burkittsville still often appears on lists of the most haunted small towns in America, even though the town is extremely small and has barely changed for decades. Smith Island is not just weird because of its remote location, but because it truly feels like a world left behind by modern America. This small island in the middle of Chesapeake Bay can only be reached by boat, has no bridge to the mainland, and has a population of fewer than 300 people. Even stranger, many locals still speak with a unique accent that sounds like a mix of 17th century English and an American Southern dialect.
My name's Eddie Summers. I was raised on Smith Island and I am president of Smith Island.
The island's atmosphere also feels quiet and isolated. Ironically, the island is slowly sinking because of erosion and rising sea levels, causing some younger residents to leave the community. Despite its small size, Smith Island is famous across Maryland for Smith Island cake, a thin layered cake that has even been named the state's official dessert. Point Lookout is often considered one of the most haunted places in all of Maryland. It sits at the end of a narrow peninsula where the Potomac River meets Chesapeake Bay, and the atmosphere feels isolated from the moment you arrive. During the day, it may look like an ordinary coastal park, but once sea fog begins to roll in and wine comes from the bay, the mood quickly turns quiet and uncomfortable. Point Lookout's strangeness comes from its dark Civil War history. The area was once a prison camp for Confederate soldiers, and thousands of prisoners died from disease, starvation, and extreme weather. Because of that, Point Lookout State Park has appeared several times on lists of the most famous paranormal locations on America's East Coast. Many ghost hunting teams come here because reports of strange activity have remained consistent for years. Crownsville may look like an ordinary small community on the edge of Annapolis, but this town has one of the most disturbing histories in Maryland. The name Crownsville is strongly tied to the former Crownsville Hospital Center, a psychiatric hospital opened in 1911 specifically for Black patients during America's segregation era. For decades, the place was known for horrifying conditions, overcrowding, poor care, and controversial medical practices now considered inhumane. Because of that history, many paranormal stories have emerged around the old hospital complex. Locals often talk about strange sounds from empty buildings, sightings in dark hallways, and rumors of unmarked graves in the wooded areas around the facility. Even today, Crownsville still often appears in urban exploration documentaries and lists of haunted places in America's Mid-Atlantic region. Ellicott City feels like a town trapped between colonial America and modern disaster. In fact, Ellicott City is known as one of the oldest railroad towns in America, and many parts of it have barely changed for hundreds of years. But what makes this town truly weird is its reputation as a town haunted by floods. In recent years, Ellicott City's Main Street has been hit by 2 major flash floods that destroyed shops, swept away cars, and even killed residents. Because the town sits in a steep valley, water can suddenly turn into a violent current within minutes. Many locals even describe the downtown as cursed because disasters keep repeating despite several repair projects. Thurmont sits right at the foot of the Catoctin Mountains, and although it looks like an ordinary Appalachian small town, it has a mysterious aura that makes it feel different from most small towns in Maryland. Its roads are quiet, surrounded by dense forest and misty hills, while its rural atmosphere still feels very traditional. When night falls, the area around Thurmont can feel completely silent because much of the region is filled with state parks and mountain trails. What makes Thurmont even weirder is its closeness to Camp David, the highly secretive and heavily guarded presidential retreat hidden in the Catoctin Forest. For decades, Camp David's existence has sparked local rumors, from conspiracy theories and restricted mountain areas to stories about hidden military activity. Boonsboro is an old small town in western Maryland that feels like a piece of classic Appalachia. The town is surrounded by green hills, farmland, and narrow country roads, while its downtown is still filled with old brick buildings that have barely changed since the 19th century. At first glance, Boonsboro looks peaceful, but that old Americana feeling is exactly what makes it feel slightly strange and nostalgic at the same time. Much of Boonsboro's uniqueness comes from its history and legends. The town sits near the Battle of South Mountain area, an important Civil War battlefield, so the surrounding region is filled with stories of ghost soldiers and mysterious sounds from the fields and mountain forests. Not far from town is also the Appalachian Trail, which brings many long-distance hikers through Boonsboro and gives the community a unique, slightly off-grid vibe. Berlin may not be the scariest town in Maryland, but its weirdness comes from the fact that it almost feels too perfect to be real. Its downtown is filled with Victorian-era buildings, classic street lamps, small independent shops, and a main street that almost always looks as neat as a movie set. Many people first recognize Berlin because it has often been used as a filming location for movies and shows, including Runaway Bride. What makes Berlin feel weird is its frozen-in-time atmosphere. Unlike many American small towns filled with modern chain stores, Berlin's downtown still preserves a 1940s to 1960s vibe. Walking there at night, especially when the shops start closing and the streets empty out, the town has a slightly uncanny retro atmosphere. Beautiful, but also like a time capsule. St. Michael's is often called one of the prettiest small towns on Chesapeake Bay. But behind its luxury marina and colonial homes, the town has a strange atmosphere that is hard to explain. Its streets are quiet, filled with 18th century buildings, wooden docks, and small alleys that open directly toward foggy waters. The town's strangeness is strongly tied to Chesapeake Bay's maritime history. In the colonial era, this area was known as a center of trade and sailing, but it was also filled with stories of smugglers, pirates, and lost ships. There is even a local legend that the people of St. Michael's once fooled the British fleet during the War of 1812 by turning off the town lights so enemy cannons missed their targets. Because of that story, the town earned the nickname, the town that fooled the British. Chestertown feels like a colonial town that somehow survived into the modern age. Standing along the Chester River on Maryland's eastern shore, this small town is filled with 18th century brick homes, narrow streets, and old English-style buildings that make the atmosphere feel more like a colonial port than an ordinary American small town. Many visitors even say Chestertown looks like the set of a living history film. What makes it weird is how strongly the town preserves its colonial identity. Every year, it holds a major event called the Chestertown Tea Party Festival, a unique reenactment inspired by the Boston Tea Party. Residents wear 18th century clothing, old boats sail along the river, and the entire downtown feels like it has returned to the American Revolution. The atmosphere is fascinating, but also slightly surreal because the whole town truly gets into character. Crumpton is not nationally famous, and that is exactly what makes it feel strange. This small community on Maryland's eastern shore has barely changed for decades. Just narrow country roads, wide fields, old houses, and a quiet atmosphere that feels deeply remote, even though it is not actually that far from Maryland's larger towns. Crumpton's uniqueness comes from its rural time capsule vibe. Many parts of the town feel like an older version of America left behind by modern development. Around this area, flea markets, old barns, and aging farm buildings are still a big part of local life. One of its best-known places is Crumpton Auction, a long-running traditional auction market often filled with strange antiques, old furniture, and collectibles that make the place feel like a trip into the past. Plata may look like an ordinary suburban town in southern Maryland, but it has a strange history that keeps its name remembered across the state. For years, Plata was known as a quiet small town with an old courthouse, a classic downtown, and neat suburban neighborhoods. But everything changed drastically in 2002 when a powerful F4 tornado struck directly through the town center and destroyed much of downtown within minutes. The disaster became one of the most famous tornadoes in Maryland history because this state is not usually associated with major tornadoes. Many residents describe the event like a small apocalypse movie. Buildings flying apart, cars overturned, and the town center reduced to ruins. To this day, Plata still carries an unusual reputation as a town that experienced a disaster that felt out of place in such a calm environment. Hyattsville has a very different kind of weird compared with the other towns on this list. If Burkittsville or Point Lookout feel creepy and remote, Hyattsville feels strange because of its artsy, eccentric, and slightly chaotic energy. Located near Washington, D.C., the city has grown into a creative community filled with colorful murals, indie galleries, unique cafes, and old houses with decorations that can be truly unusual. Its most famous area is the Gateway Arts District, an arts corridor filled with artist studios, alternative performances, and community events that often feel more like a small Brooklyn than a typical Maryland suburb. In one corner, you may find vintage shops and experimental art markets, while just a few blocks away, the setting shifts into a quiet, classic suburban neighborhood. That contrast makes Hyattsville feel slightly surreal. Glendale looks like a quiet suburban area on the edge of Washington, D.C., but it holds one of the most famous and creepy abandoned locations in Maryland. The name Glendale is strongly tied to the former Glendale Hospital, a large hospital complex built for tuberculosis patients in the early 20th century. After it closed in the 1980s, the massive brick buildings were left empty and slowly swallowed by the forest. For years, Glendale Hospital became an urban exploration legend. Dark hallways, broken windows, and abandoned buildings surrounded by trees made the place look like a zombie movie set. Many rumors spread about sightings, strange sounds, and paranormal activity around the old hospital area. And because ghost hunters and illegal explorers entered so often, the site was once watched more closely by local authorities. Lutherville may be the most normal town on this list, but that is exactly where its strangeness lies. At first glance, it looks like a classic East Coast suburb, tree-lined roads, large old homes, historic churches, and the quiet atmosphere of suburban Baltimore. But compared with many modern suburbs, Lutherville has an old money feeling that seems slightly frozen in the past. Founded in the mid-19th century as a religious community and summer retreat, much of the town still preserves old Victorian homes and classic architecture. Lutherville's weirdness does not come from a major horror legend, but from its old suburban atmosphere, which feels different from the modern urban growth around Baltimore. Many small roads are lined with old trees and historic homes, almost hidden from the main streets, creating a mood that feels both nostalgic and uncanny.